At my daughter's funeral, a stranger walked in holding a baby, and my world collapsed. If this happened in your family, what would you do? Would you turn away or demand the truth? I never thought I'd be the one burying my child. Parents aren't supposed to outlive their children. That day, in a church filled with whispers, sobs, and the faint smell of lilies, I sat on the front pew, staring at the coffin of my only daughter, Monica. She was just 29, too young, too full of life, too full of secrets I didn't understand until it was too late. My name is Gloria Thompson. I'm a nurse. I've lived in Charlotte, North Carolina my whole life. I've seen patients take their last breath. I've comforted families in waiting rooms, but nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for this moment. On my left side sat my grandson, little Caleb, only 5 years old. He clung to my hand so tightly, like he knew if he let go, he'd lose the last piece of his mother. On my right sat Eric Dawson, Monica's husband. He looked broken, his eyes red and swollen, staring straight ahead. But even in his grief, there was something about him that didn't sit right with me. Have you ever looked at someone you thought you knew and suddenly realized you don't know them at all? That's how I felt staring at Eric. The pastor cleared his throat, preparing to speak, but my mind kept replaying Monica's last words to me. 2 weeks before she died, she called me late at night. Her voice was shaky, almost like she was afraid someone was listening. She said, "Mom, if anything ever happens to me, promise me you won't trust everyone around me." At the time, I brushed it off. I told her she was just stressed, that maybe her marriage was weighing on her, that she should try to rest. I wish I had listened closer. I want to pause here and ask you, if your child told you something like that, would you have taken it seriously? Drop your answer in the comments, because I know I'm not the only parent who second guesses the choices we made too late. The church was filled with family, coworkers, neighbors, people Monica grew up with. Some came from out of state. My friend Patricia Reynolds, who everyone calls Patty, was beside me too. She had been my rock since Monica passed, cooking for me, making sure Caleb had everything he needed. The choir sang softly, but my heart couldn't hear the words. Instead, my eyes scanned the crowd. People whispered. Some looked genuinely heartbroken. Others looked curious, like they came to see a spectacle. Funerals in America often carry that mix, grief and gossip under one roof. And in Charlotte, everyone knows everyone, so whispers travel faster than truth. I spotted Eric's parents sitting 2 rows back. His mother dabbed her eyes with a lace handkerchief, but his father just sat stiff, his jaw tight, as if he wanted to be anywhere else. The pastor started speaking about Monica's bright smile, her dedication to her patients at the clinic where she worked, how she always put others first. I wanted to believe every word, but in my heart, a question burned. Why did her life end so suddenly? Throughout the service, I noticed Eric hadn't spoken a single word. He didn't cry out. He didn't comfort Caleb. He just sat there rigid, his hands folded. I whispered, "Eric, are you okay?" He didn't answer. He just stared at the coffin like it held not just his wife, but a truth he hoped would stay buried. And maybe that's exactly what it was. I don't say this lightly, but something about him scared me. He wasn't grieving like a man who lost the love of his life. He was hiding. Have you ever been in a room where everyone is crying, but one person looks guilty instead of sad? Tell me if you've seen that before. That's exactly what it felt like. As the service went on, I couldn't shake Monica's warning. I remembered the last dinner we shared at my house, right here in Charlotte. She pushed food around her plate more than she ate. Caleb laughed, spilling juice on the table, but Monica didn't even notice. "Monica, is everything okay?" I had asked her. She looked at me, her eyes glassy. She said, "I'm fine, Mom. Don't worry about me." But she wasn't fine. Mothers always know. Now, sitting in that pew, I felt like she had tried to tell me something bigger than herself, but I failed her. Caleb tugged my sleeve. His little voice whispered, "Grandma, when is Mommy coming back?" My throat tightened. How do you explain death to a child who still believes Mommy will wake up tomorrow? I squeezed his hand and kissed his forehead. "She's in heaven now, baby, but she'll always be with us." Tears filled his eyes. He laid his head against my arm. If you've ever had to answer a child's question about death, you know it cuts deeper than any adult conversation ever could. Comment if you've been there. I need to know I'm not alone in this. I looked around again. I noticed some people exchanging glances, whispering behind tissues. The Dawson family especially seemed restless. Eric's sister leaned over, whispering something to his father. He frowned and shook his head. Patty nudged me. "Gloria, you feel that too?" I nodded. Something's not right. She didn't press me for details. That's the kind of friend she is. She knows when my silence means more than words. The pastor invited family members to speak. I stood up, legs trembling, and walked to the podium. My daughter Monica was more than just my child. She was my best friend. She was a devoted mother, a loving wife, and a woman with a heart so big she often forgot to save any love for herself. She didn't deserve to leave us like this. I paused, swallowing the lump in my throat. I looked at Eric. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat. She once told me that no matter what happens, love should be our anchor, and I pray we remember that today. I stepped down, but as I walked back to my seat, my eyes locked with Eric's. He looked away instantly. That moment told me more than words ever could. The pastor announced the final prayer before the burial. Everyone bowed their heads. I tried, but I couldn't focus. My eyes kept flicking towards the church doors. And then, the doors creaked open. I lifted my head. A tall woman I had never seen before stepped inside. She carried a baby wrapped in a white blanket. Gasps filled the church. I froze. Patty grabbed my arm. Eric's face went pale. The woman didn't hesitate. She walked straight down the aisle, her eyes locked on Eric. The air grew heavy. People whispered, "Who is she?" And in that moment, my world tilted. I knew, without knowing why, that whatever truth she carried would change everything. The woman stopped in front of Eric. The baby stirred in her arms. She lifted her chin, looked straight at him, and said words that made every head in that church turn. "Eric, you need to tell them the truth." The church fell silent when the doors creaked open. Every head turned. I tightened my grip on Caleb's little hand, afraid he might slip away from me in the chaos I felt brewing. The woman walked with a steady stride, as though she belonged there, as though the rows of people in black had been waiting for her. But I knew nobody had invited her. Nobody expected her. She carried a baby. The child was swaddled in a soft white blanket, head resting against her chest. For a funeral, it was the strangest sight. Life walking into a room filled with death. The whispers began immediately. Who is she? Why is she here? Is that a baby? I leaned closer to Patty, who sat stiff beside me. "Do you know her?" I whispered. Patty shook her head slowly, eyes wide. Never seen her before. But one person did recognize her. Eric. He froze. His lips parted, his eyes widening like he'd seen a ghost. And then he looked away. That was all I needed to know something wasn't right. The woman walked down the center aisle with confidence, ignoring the sea of stares. The baby stirred, letting out a soft whimper, and the sound echoed through the church like thunder. The pastor cleared his throat nervously. He didn't know whether to keep speaking or stop the service altogether. "Excuse me, miss," he began, but she raised her hand slightly, silencing him without a word. She wasn't here for the pastor. She wasn't here for me. She wasn't even here for Monica, lying in that coffin. She was here for Eric. She stopped right in front of Eric. Her voice rang out clear, trembling but determined. "Eric, you need to tell them the truth." The entire congregation gasped. People craned their necks. Even Monica's friends, who had been sobbing moments ago, looked up, startled into silence. Eric's face drained of color. His body stiffened like a man bracing for impact. "What truth?" Patty whispered in my ear. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My heart was beating too loud in my chest. Eric rose slowly from the pew, towering over her. His voice shook as he hissed, "Danielle, not here. This isn't the time." Danielle, that was her name. The church erupted in whispers again. Who knows her? What's going on? Did she just say truth? Danielle's eyes narrowed. If not here, then when? Monica deserves better than lies. I swear my knees almost buckled. Hearing my daughter's name in her mouth at her funeral felt like betrayal on betrayal. Caleb tugged on my sleeve. "Grandma, who is that lady? Why is everyone looking at her?" I bent down, whispering softly, "It's okay, baby, just hold my hand." But inside, I was anything but okay. What kind of woman walks into a funeral with a baby and demands the truth from the widower? What kind of truth could she possibly mean? Someone from the back pew shouted, "Whose baby is that?" The question rippled through the church. Danielle adjusted the blanket and pulled it down just enough to reveal the baby's face. Pink cheeks, soft curls, eyes that seemed too knowing for their age. "This child," Danielle said firmly, "is Eric's son." The room exploded in gasps, murmurs, even shouts. "No, that's impossible. She's lying. Oh my God." Patty's nails dug into my arm. "Gloria, do you hear what she's saying?" I heard her, but my mind refused to accept it. Eric's jaw clenched as hands shook. "That's a lie. You're out of your mind." But even as he denied it, he wouldn't look at me. I looked at Danielle again. She wasn't trembling. She wasn't stuttering. She spoke like a woman who came prepared. My stomach turned. Could this be what Monica had been trying to tell me? Could this be the betrayal that haunted her last days? Have you ever felt the ground shift beneath your feet while you're still standing still? That's how it felt. Let me ask you, if a stranger stormed into your family's funeral and claimed to carry your son-in-law's baby, would you believe her or him? Tell me in the comments because I need to know how anyone makes sense of this kind of chaos. Eric's father stood abruptly. "This is slander. How dare you disrupt our daughter-in-law's funeral with lies?" But someone else, a woman from Monica's workplace, spoke up. "Look at him. He's not denying her. Not really." The church divided instantly. Some believed Danielle, some defended Eric. The pastor begged for order, but the noise drowned them out. Danielle reached into her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She held it up for everyone to see. "This is a birth certificate, and Eric Dawson is listed as the father." Gasps again. Murmurs grew louder. Someone even clapped a hand over their mouth in shock. Eric lunged forward, trying to snatch it from her hand. But Danielle stepped back, cradling the baby tightly. "Say whatever you want, Eric, but this child is yours." And Monica knew. My vision blurred. The walls felt like they were closing in. If Monica knew, why hadn't she told me? I sank back into the pew, clutching Caleb like he might disappear too. My baby girl was gone, and now another baby, this woman's baby, was being paraded as Eric's. Tears burned my eyes. I didn't know what to believe, but deep in my chest, something told me this wasn't random. This woman hadn't chosen this moment by accident. She wanted the world to know. The church had turned into chaos, some people shouting, others recording on their phones, gossip spreading like wildfire. Eric grabbed Danielle's arm. "Get out, now." But Danielle didn't move. She looked at me, straight at me, her eyes locked with mine. "Gloria, Monica tried to warn you. She came to me before she died." I froze. My heart stopped. What did she just say? The entire church went silent again, waiting for my reaction. My daughter had gone to this stranger before her death? Why? What did she know? The baby stirred again, crying softly. Danielle rocked him gently, never breaking eye contact with me. And I realized in that moment, whatever truth she carried was about to tear my family apart. Viewers, If you were sitting in that church, would you believe Danielle or Eric? Comment your answer below, because I need to know how anyone makes sense of this kind of chaos. And if you don't want to miss what comes next in this story, hit subscribe to Voices of Auntie Grace right now, because the next chapter will change everything you think you know. The moment Danielle spoke my name in that church, it felt like a knife cutting through the air. My daughter went to her before she died? How is that possible? Monica never mentioned her, not once. The pastor tried to calm the crowd, but it was no use. People were whispering louder now, eyes darting between Eric, the baby, and me. I looked at Eric. His face was red, his fists clenched. He looked like a man cornered, but still refusing to admit defeat. Danielle didn't back down. She clutched the baby tighter, voice firm. Monica knew. She knew Eric wasn't faithful, and she came to me because she wanted the truth to come out, even if it destroyed her. The words echoed in my head, even if it destroyed her. Suddenly, I remembered that phone call again, the one where Monica had told me not to trust everyone around her. Back then, I thought it was just stress. But now? Could she have been talking about Eric? I wanted to scream at him, demand answers, but I couldn't. Not in front of Caleb, not with Monica lying in that coffin only a few feet away. So instead, I stayed silent, holding back the storm inside me. Danielle unfolded the paper in her hand and held it out so people in the first pew could see. The whispers spread like fire as they leaned over, passing along what was written. Eric's name, his full name, clear as day. "See," Danielle said, "I don't need to make this up. This child has a right to his father. Monica knew the truth. And deep down, you all know it too." The weight of her words pressed down on me. Could my daughter really have carried this secret? Eric finally snapped. His voice was low, harsh, shaking with rage. "You're nothing but a liar looking for money. I don't know how you got that paper, but it's fake, and I'll prove it." But Danielle didn't flinch. "If you're so sure, Eric, take the test. DNA doesn't lie." The church gasped again. DNA test, proof that could either clear Eric or destroy him completely. Have you ever seen a man try to fight against the truth, even when it's staring him in the face? That's exactly how Eric looked in that moment. As I sat there, my thoughts ran wild. I pictured Monica, sitting alone on my porch swing last summer. She had been restless, tapping her fingers on her knee, eyes darting away from mine. "Mom," she whispered, "what would you do if you found out someone you loved wasn't who they said they were?" I laughed it off, thinking she was talking about a friend, but she wasn't. She was talking about Eric. And now, I couldn't laugh. Before anyone could throw her out, Danielle spoke once more, her voice softer, almost mournful. "Gloria, I'm sorry. I didn't come here to hurt you, but Monica didn't deserve to die with secrets buried with her. You deserve to know who Eric really is." Her words cracked something inside me. I looked at Eric again. His eyes darted left, right, anywhere but at me. And I knew. Deep down, I knew. At that moment, the baby in Danielle's arms began to cry louder, a wail that pierced the air. She rocked him gently, whispering soothing words. It was a haunting sound, a reminder that while my daughter lay in a coffin, this new life was just beginning, born out of betrayal. And when I saw that little face again, for just a second, I thought I saw Monica's features. It shook me to my core. The funeral ended in chaos. People left whispering, gossip already spreading across Charlotte. But I couldn't move. I sat frozen in that pew, Caleb asleep against my chest, my mind replaying Danielle's words. Monica came to her. Monica knew. And now a part of me feared Monica's death wasn't an accident at all. The church emptied out like a broken dam after Danielle's outburst. People spilled into the parking lot, their voices rising into the humid Charlotte air. Some rushed to their cars to escape the scandal. Others lingered in clusters, eager to dissect every detail. I held Caleb close against me as I stepped outside, his little arms wrapped tight around my neck, his head heavy on my shoulder. He was too young to understand the storm that had just ripped through his mother's funeral, and I was desperate to protect him from it. "Come on, baby," I whispered, kissing his temple. "Let's get some air." Patty walked beside me, her hand hovering near my back like she thought I might collapse any second. She wasn't wrong. My legs shook as if they no longer belonged to me. We sat on a wooden bench under the oak trees near the church entrance. The smell of freshly cut grass mixed with the faint perfume of lilies still clinging to my clothes. Caleb clutched a small toy car in his fist, rolling it back and forth against my arm. "Grandma?" he asked, his voice so soft it nearly broke me. "Why was that lady yelling at Daddy?" How do you answer a question like that? I smoothed his curls and forced a smile. "Sometimes grown-ups argue when they're upset, sweetheart, but don't you worry. I've got you." He nodded, satisfied with my half-answer, and went back to playing with his car. Children have a way of trusting without question, of believing that the adults in their life will keep them safe. And in that moment, I silently promised him I would, no matter what it cost me. Patty sat beside me, her eyes narrowed, watching Eric in the distance. He stood near his parents, arguing furiously with his father, his gestures sharp, his voice too low to catch. Danielle was gone. Someone said she left quickly after dropping her accusations like a bomb. Patty leaned in. "Gloria, what if Danielle's telling the truth? What if Monica knew Eric was cheating all along?" I swallowed hard. I don't want to believe it. But Monica wasn't herself those last few weeks. She was hiding something. Maybe this was it. Patty sighed, her face creased with worry. "If she knew, then why didn't she tell you directly?" That was the question clawing at me. Why tell a stranger, but not her own mother? Later that evening, we gathered at my home for a small reception. People brought casseroles, pies, and condolences I couldn't digest. The house smelled of baked macaroni and fried chicken, but nothing could fill the hollow ache inside me. Eric sat silently in the corner of my living room, staring at his hands. Every so often, someone approached him, asking questions he dodged with stiff nods. His parents hovered protectively near him, as though shielding him from judgment. I moved through the room like a ghost, thanking people for coming, for their prayers, for their kindness. But my eyes kept darting back to Eric. His silence was louder than the hum of conversations around us. As the night wore on, I overheard fragments of whispers. "Did you see that woman? Holding that baby like it was proof?" Eric looked guilty. No man sweats like that unless he's hiding something. Poor Monica. She deserved better. Their words stung, not just because they painted Eric as a villain, but because I couldn't tell if they were wrong. My mind replayed the last holiday we spent together, Thanksgiving in my kitchen. Monica tried to put on a brave face, but I caught the tension between Eric and her. I remember her whispering to me while washing dishes, her hands shaking under the warm water. "Mom," she said quietly, "do you ever feel like the person you married isn't the same person you fell in love with?" I looked at her then, really looked, and saw pain in her eyes she couldn't disguise. But Eric walked into the kitchen before she could explain, and the moment slipped away. Now, standing in my living room months later, that memory hit me like a freight train. She had been trying to tell me something all along. The next morning, Patty stopped by with fresh coffee. She sat across from me at my dining table, her voice low. "Gloria, I heard someone say the baby had a mark, a birthmark." I frowned. "What kind of mark?" She hesitated. "A small one, on the shoulder, just like the one Monica had when she was born." My chest tightened. I remember that mark clearly. A small oval shape, almost like a fingerprint stamped on her skin. Doctors said it was harmless, but to me, it was always a reminder of her uniqueness. If Danielle's baby had that same mark, then what did it mean? Coincidence or blood? That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, the house dark and quiet around me. Caleb slept peacefully in the next room, clutching Monica's old teddy bear. But my mind refused to rest. Was Eric lying? Was Danielle telling the truth? Or was there another layer none of us could see yet? The doubt weighed on me like a heavy blanket I couldn't push off. And the more I thought about it, the more I wondered if Monica's death was connected to all of this. I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't stay silent. I had to find answers, even if it meant tearing open wounds that were supposed to be buried with my daughter. Patty warned me, "Be careful, Gloria. If Danielle's right, Eric has more to hide than an affair. And if Monica knew, then maybe she didn't just die. Maybe she was silenced." Her words sent chills down my spine. The next time I saw Danielle's baby, I'd look for that birthmark myself. Because if it was real, if that child carried the same mark as my daughter, then no denial from Eric could erase the truth. And that truth might destroy us all. If you discovered a child with the same birthmark as your daughter, would you see it as proof of betrayal or just coincidence? Tell me in the comments, and make sure you subscribe to Voices of Auntie Grace right now, because in the next chapter, Monica's own words will come back from the past to haunt us. The morning after the funeral felt heavier than the day itself. The casseroles people left on my counter sat untouched, the flowers from the church drooped in their vases, and the silence of my home pressed down on me like a weight I couldn't lift. I thought grief would be the hardest part, but it wasn't. Doubt was worse. Doubt about Eric, about Danielle, about the baby she carried into Monica's funeral like a ticking bomb. Doubt about what Monica had tried to tell me. I couldn't shake the feeling that the truth was still hiding somewhere close, waiting for me to find it. That afternoon, I went into Monica's old bedroom. She hadn't lived here for years, but I kept her space tidy, the bed made, the dresser polished. It always gave me comfort to know her things were still here, like a piece of her life was frozen in time. I opened the closet and inhaled the faint smell of her perfume, a soft lavender she used since high school. The scent nearly broke me, but I pressed on. I began sorting through boxes stacked in the corner, photo albums, books, old medical textbooks from her nursing program. Beneath a stack of journals, I found a shoebox taped shut. My hands trembled as I peeled the tape away. Inside were letters, receipts, and small keepsakes, and right on top, folded neatly, was an envelope with my name written in Monica's handwriting. I sat on the bed and stared at the envelope for what felt like hours. My chest tightened, my throat dry. Finally, I tore it open. The paper inside shook in my hands as I began to read. "Mom, I don't know how to tell you this face to face. I'm scared. I feel like I'm living with someone I don't recognize anymore. Eric is hiding things from me. I don't have proof yet, but I can feel it. And if I'm right, it could destroy us. Please, if anything happens to me, look closer. Don't take things at face value. You've always told me to trust my gut. Well, mine is screaming at me every night. I love you. Don't let anyone rewrite my story." I dropped the letter into my lap, my vision blurred with tears. She had tried to tell me and I hadn't listened. At the bottom of the shoebox, under the letters, I found a folded hotel receipt. It was dated just 2 weeks before Monica died. The location? Atlanta, Georgia. The guest name? Eric Dawson. Room charges. 2 meals ordered. 2 glasses of wine. My hands went cold. Eric had told Monica and me that he was on a business trip that week, but the receipt didn't look like business. It looked like a getaway. I sat there staring at the evidence, rage and sorrow boiling together. All this time, I believed Eric was grieving my daughter. But what if he was grieving the control he lost when she died? Patty found me in the room, her eyes widening when she saw the letter and receipt in my hands. "Gloria, what is that?" she whispered. I handed it to her, my voice breaking. Proof. Proof that Monica wasn't imagining things. Proof that Eric was hiding more than we thought. Patty read silently, her jaw tightening. "This changes everything." The letter dragged me back to the last time Monica came over. She sat on this very bed, folding laundry, trying to distract herself. "Mom," she said, her voice low, "do you think people can hide who they really are forever?" I laughed at the time, thinking she was being philosophical, but now with the letter in my hand, I realized she had been crying for help. She knew something, and it scared her enough to write this letter in case she didn't make it out alive. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with Patty. The letter and receipt lay between us like evidence in a trial. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I need answers," I said firmly. "I need to confront him, but I can't do it here, not with Caleb in the house." Patty nodded. "Then go to Atlanta. Find out what he was doing there. But Gloria, be careful. If Monica was scared enough to write this, then Eric might not be the man you think he is." Her words echoed through me. Be careful. As if on cue, Caleb shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. "Grandma, are you crying?" I wiped my face quickly and pulled him into my lap. "No, sweetheart, just reading something Mommy left me." He rested his head on my shoulder. "Mommy told me once that secrets are heavy. She said that's why she was always tired." I froze. Even Caleb had noticed her struggle. The next morning, I packed the letter and receipt into my purse. I kissed Caleb's forehead and left him with Patty. As I got into my car, one thought burned in my mind. Monica had begged me not to trust everyone. And now I was heading straight into the lion's den, Atlanta, where Eric's secrets waited to be uncovered. If you found a hidden letter from your daughter warning you about the trail, would you confront her husband or keep it to yourself? Tell me in the comments. And don't miss the next chapter. Subscribe to Voices of Auntie Grace right now, because when I face Eric in Atlanta, the truth won't be easy to hear. The highway from Charlotte to Atlanta felt endless. Every mile carried me further from the comfort of home and closer to the answers I both wanted and feared. The receipt in my purse burned like fire against my side, a constant reminder that Eric had been here before, living a life Monica may have uncovered too late. When I reached Atlanta, the city's skyline rose like steel and glass secrets stacked against the sky. I checked into a small motel on the outskirts, not far from the address Eric kept for his business. I needed distance from his home turf, a place where I could breathe before I confronted him. That evening, I called Eric. My voice was steady, but my heart raced. "Eric, we need to talk. In person, tomorrow." He hesitated. "Gloria, I don't think now's a good time." "Make time," I cut in. "I know about Atlanta." Silence on the other end. Long, heavy silence. Then, "Fine. Come by my office at noon." Eric's office was on Peachtree Street, one of the busiest stretches of downtown. When I arrived, the receptionist looked surprised to see me. She led me past glass walls and quiet cubicles until we reached his corner office. Eric stood by the window, hands shoved into his pockets, eyes fixed on the city below. He didn't turn around when I walked in. "You found the receipt," he said flatly. "Yes. And the letter Monica left me. She knew you were hiding something." He finally turned, his face pale, his jaw tight. "Gloria, I'm not proud of it. I made mistakes, but it wasn't what you think. I crossed my arms, holding his gaze. Then tell me what I should think, because right now, I think you betrayed my daughter, and that betrayal followed her to the grave. He closed his eyes, pinching the bridge of his nose. Danielle, she was a mistake. It wasn't love. It wasn't supposed to happen. I ended it. My breath caught. Hearing her name fall from his lips like something shameful confirmed what I already knew. How long? I asked, my voice trembling. Almost a year, he admitted, but Monica didn't know about it. I slammed my hand against his desk. Don't lie to me, Eric. She wrote to me. She felt it. She knew something was wrong. His eyes widened. She wrote to you? Before I could answer, his office door burst open. Danielle stood there, the baby in her arms, fury burning in her eyes. You think you can bury this, Eric? You think a confession to her will make it go away? She snapped. My heart leapt into my throat. How did she know I was here? Did she follow me? Danielle marched forward, slapping a stack of papers onto Eric's desk. I've already spoken to an attorney. You'll either acknowledge your son and pay what's owed, or we'll let a court drag every skeleton out of your closet. Eric's shoulders sagged. He looked older in that moment, weighed down by guilt and fear. Danielle, please. Not here, not now. But Danielle's voice didn't waver. You had your chance to do this quietly. Monica deserved honesty. Now the whole world will know what kind of man you really are. I stepped back, stunned. I wanted to scream at both of them, to demand answers about Monica, about what she really knew, but my voice caught in my throat. Eric turned back to me, desperation in his eyes. Gloria, I swear I never wanted to hurt Monica. I loved her. I still love her. Love doesn't look like lies, I said coldly. He ran a hand through his hair, his voice cracking. She never knew about Danielle. I made sure of it. But I shook my head. That's where your story falls apart, Eric. Danielle said Monica came to her. Monica told me not to trust everyone around her. And now I have proof you were in Atlanta with Danielle weeks before she died. Explain that. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. His silence screamed louder than any confession. Danielle looked between us, then finally spoke, her voice softer now. Gloria, Monica came to me 2 weeks before she passed. She begged me not to expose the affair yet. She said she needed time. She looked scared, like she was carrying a secret even heavier than mine. The room spun. Monica came to her. Why? What secret could she have been holding that tied all of this together? Eric sank into his chair, his face in his hands. He didn't deny it. He didn't fight it. He just sat there, a broken man. I stood frozen in that office, the city buzzing outside the glass walls, the truth unraveling at my feet. My daughter had gone to Danielle before her death. She had carried secrets too heavy to share with me. And now, staring at Eric's silence and Danielle's defiance, one chilling thought lodged itself in my mind. Monica's death wasn't just tragic, it might have been connected to what she discovered in Atlanta. If you were me standing in that office hearing your son-in-law confess to betrayal while a stranger claimed your daughter knew all along, who would you believe? Comment below. And don't miss the next chapter, because the next revelation will leave you questioning everything. After leaving Eric's office in Atlanta, I couldn't drive straight home. My hands shook too badly on the wheel, and my thoughts raced in 1,000 directions. Danielle's words echoed in my ears. Monica came to me 2 weeks before she passed. She looked scared. That single sentence had ripped the ground out from under me. If Monica was scared, what was she running from? And why tell Danielle, a woman tied to Eric's betrayal, instead of confiding in me? I pulled into a gas station, parked, and laid my forehead on the steering wheel. My chest ached with the weight of not knowing. Back in Charlotte, Patty had been digging. She called me later that night while I sat in the motel room staring at Monica's letter again. "Gloria," she said, her voice tense, "you won't believe what I found. Eric's bank records. Large transfers, thousands of dollars sent directly to Danielle's account, months before Monica died." I sat upright. "How did you get that?" "Let's just say I asked a friend who works at the bank. She pulled it quietly. Eric can't hide this. He was supporting Danielle long before Monica passed." My hands shook as I held the phone. "Patty, if Monica found out—" Patty didn't let me finish. "Then she had a reason to be afraid, and you need to find out if that reason played a role in her death." I couldn't sleep that night. I kept picturing Eric, sitting smugly at family dinners, pretending everything was fine while funneling money to another woman. Monica must have seen the signs, the missing funds, the unexplained trips, the guilt in his eyes. But what if she confronted him? What if their argument led to more than just words? That question gnawed at me until dawn. The next morning, Patty showed up at my door in Charlotte, her face pale. She carried a folded piece of paper. "Gloria," she whispered, handing it to me. "Look at this." I unfolded the document. My stomach dropped. It was a call log. Monica had dialed 911 3 days before her death. The call lasted less than a minute. No words were recorded, just heavy breathing before the line disconnected. I felt the blood drain from my face. She tried to get help. Patty nodded, her voice breaking. But no one followed up. They marked it as an abandoned call. I sank into a chair, clutching the paper like it was a lifeline. My daughter had reached out for help, and the system ignored her. I can't describe the guilt that crushed me in that moment. Monica had tried to tell me. She had tried to tell the police, and still she ended up in a coffin. I asked myself 1,000 times, if I had pushed harder, if I had gone to her house that night, if the police had done their job, would she still be alive? That's the kind of question that never lets a parent rest. Later that day, Danielle called me. Her number flashing across my phone sent shivers down my spine. Against my better judgment, I answered. Her voice was tired, almost broken. "Gloria, I didn't want this to go this far, but you need to know. Monica came to my apartment. She begged me to keep the baby's existence quiet until she figured out what to do. She told me she was afraid of Eric, afraid of what he might do if he found out she knew everything." My hand clamped over my mouth. My daughter, my strong, loving Monica, was living in fear under her own roof. Danielle continued. "She told me she was planning to leave him. She said she had evidence, but she never showed me what it was. A few days later, she was gone." I sat in silence after that call, my mind piecing it together. Monica wrote a warning letter. She made a 911 call. She confided in Danielle. She hinted she had evidence. And then, just like that, her life ended. Coincidence? Or cause and effect? That night, I looked at Monica's photo on my mantle. Her smile stared back at me, frozen in time, full of warmth I would never feel again. "I will find the truth," I whispered. "I promise you, I will." I didn't care if it tore the family apart. I didn't care if it meant facing Eric head on. My daughter didn't leave this world quietly, and neither would I. As I prepared to dig deeper, one haunting thought kept me awake. If Monica had evidence, where was it now? And more importantly, did Eric know I was looking for it? If your daughter made a desperate 911 call that no one followed up on, would you see it as a tragic mistake or a sign of foul play? Drop your answer in the comments, and don't miss what happens next. Subscribe to Voices of Auntie Grace right now because the final chapter will expose the collapse of everything I thought I knew.
Family gatherings used to bring comfort. Birthdays, barbecues, Christmas mornings.
Those were the moments I lived for. But now, standing in my own living room surrounded by relatives and friends who came to support us, I felt like every eye was a judge's gavel, waiting to drop. The air was heavy, not with laughter or love, but with suspicion. People weren't here to grieve Monica anymore. They were here to see which side of the story would win, Eric's denials or Danielle's accusations. And me? I stood at the center of it all, clutching Caleb's small hand, praying I could hold it together long enough to protect him from the storm. Eric sat stiffly in the armchair, his shoulders hunched like he carried invisible chains. His parents hovered behind him, whispering in his ear, urging him to keep calm. I broke the silence. My voice was steady, though inside my heart was pounding. Eric, I need you to answer me, once and for all. Did Monica know about Danielle's baby? Did she confront you before she died? His jaw tightened. He wouldn't look at me. Patty, standing at my side, stepped forward. We've seen the bank transfers. We know the money went to Danielle. You can't deny it anymore. Gasps spread through the room. People shifted uncomfortably, waiting for Eric's response. He finally looked up, his face pale. Yes, I sent her money. I wanted to keep it quiet. But I didn't kill Monica. I swear to God I didn't. Before anyone could respond, the front door burst open. Danielle walked in, baby in her arms, her face set like stone. The room erupted. People whispered, some even shouted, "Not again! She's back!" But Danielle ignored them. She walked straight to me and held out her phone. "Gloria, you need to see this." I hesitated before taking it. On the screen were text messages, hundreds of them, from Monica to Danielle. The last one made my blood run cold. If something happens to me, it's because Eric found out. I staggered back, nearly dropping the phone. The room spun. My daughter had been crying for help in silence, and no one, not me, not the police, not her friends, had saved her. Eric jumped to his feet, his face red with fury. "Those messages are fake. She's lying to you, Gloria. She's been lying since the beginning." But the room wasn't on his side anymore. The whispers grew louder, turning into accusations. People pointed, muttering about guilt, about betrayal, about justice. Caleb clung to my leg, his eyes wide with fear. I bent down, holding him close, whispering, "It's okay, baby. I've got you." But even I didn't believe my own words. I looked at Eric, my voice shaking with rage. "You let my daughter live in fear. You let her die with secrets tearing her apart. Whether you touched her or not, Eric, you killed her spirit long before her body left this world." He flinched, but said nothing. Silence was his only shield now. Danielle's baby began to cry, the sound cutting through the chaos like a blade. She rocked him gently, her eyes never leaving Eric. The room eventually emptied, leaving only me, Patty, Caleb, and the weight of everything Danielle had revealed. I sat alone that night, staring at Monica's picture on the wall. The text, the letter, the 911 call, all of it pointed to betrayal, fear, and danger. But one question haunted me. Was Eric truly guilty of something more than infidelity, or was someone else pulling the strings? I may never know, but I knew one thing for certain. I would never stop looking for answers, because Monica deserved truth, and Caleb deserved to grow up knowing what really happened to his mother. And so, here I am, still searching, still waiting for the day when every hidden piece of Monica's story comes to light. Until then, the doubt remains. Did Eric destroy my daughter's life? Or is there a darker truth we haven't uncovered yet? If this were your family, If the person your daughter loved was accused of betrayal and maybe worse, would you believe the evidence or his denials? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't leave without subscribing to Voices of Auntie Grace, because this story isn't finished, and the next chapter of truth may shock us all.